Hey, I'm Jusko from ProbableMoney.com. In this video, we are going to look at the best Capital One credit cards, do a ranking of sorts, and also talk about the Capital One lineup in general. But first, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So we're going to look at the Capital One credit card lineup. I'm going to do a ranking of sort of the main consumer cards, and then we're also going to talk about some other considerations, because if you were to go to the Capital One website, you would see the cards I'm going to talk about, but then you would see these variations on the cards, and so I'm going to talk about what those variations are and how they might factor into your decision-making process if you were looking at Capital One cards. And that said, there are 6 main Capital One consumer credit cards, and this leaves out those variations that I just sort of talked about, and it also leaves out the student card and the secured credit card from Capital One, and I will talk a little bit more about those later on in the video, but it's those 6 main cards I want to concentrate on. And so the best credit card in the Capital One lineup has to be the Capital One Savor One card, a no annual fee card that gives you 3% cash back on dining purchases, on entertainment purchases, at grocery stores, and on streaming services. You get 1% back everywhere else. As I make this video, there's a bonus opportunity for new card holders, $200 if you spend at least $500 with the card in the first 3 months of having it. So you have a range of sort of everyday categories there where you're getting 3% cash back. This would be a pretty decent card, even if you were to hold just one credit card in your wallet. Even better, if you paired it up with 1 or 2 other credit cards, you could really maximize your cash back. So for example, if you took this card and maybe paired it up with the Citi Double Cash or another 2% flat cashback card that would give you 2% everywhere, and then maybe pair it up even further with the Citi Custom Cash card that just came out as I'm making this video, you could have 3% on those dining, entertainment, grocery store, and streaming categories, get yourself 2% on everything else, and then you could even get yourself a 5% category, maybe gas. So by itself, good card, but it is even better if you sort of pair it with other cards if you wanted to maximize a cashback strategy. So that Capital One Savor One card is a card that I can recommend without any reservations. All the rest of the Capital One cards that we're going to talk about, I do have certain reservations about, and we'll talk about those as we go along. So the next card that we will talk about, the next best Capital One card, as far as I'm concerned, is the Capital One Venture Rewards card. So this is a card that has a $95 annual fee. It gives you 2 miles per dollar on every purchase that you make with the card. As I make this video, it has a very nice bonus opportunity. You could get a bonus of 50,000 miles if you spend $3,000 or more with the card in the first 3 months, or if you can spend all the way up to $20,000 in the first year of having the card, you would end up with 100,000 bonus miles altogether. And at the base, you could think of 100,000 miles as being worth $1,000. So that is a pretty nice bonus. And you're getting 2 miles per dollar, and that's not bad, but you have that $95 annual fee to consider with this card. And this is where the reservations come in. And so the problem I have had with this card in the past is that the miles you earn on the card are not really miles with any particular airline. They are simply points. And for the most common redemption on this card, at least in the past, that meant that you could use those points to cancel out travel that you had purchased with the card on a 1 mile equals 1 penny basis. So say you had purchased a flight for $500, you could use 50,000 miles to offset that, and then that would essentially be a free flight, right? Once you used your miles to cover that cost. But that would mean that you were getting the equivalent of a penny per point or a penny per mile. So if you have a card that's giving you 2 miles per dollar, that essentially means that what you are getting is a 2% cashback card, and you are paying $95 to get it. And there are a lot of other 2% cashback cards on the market with no annual fees. Citi Double Cash, Fidelity Visa, the SoFi credit card, the PayPal Cashback MasterCard, all 2% flat cashback cards. This one has a $95 annual fee. Those ones don't. Now, for some people, they have found out that Capital One has improved an aspect to this card that makes it better than it used to be. And that is the fact that Capital One does have some travel transfer partners where you can take your miles and actually turn them into miles with an actual frequent flyer program. So they have about 15 partners, including JetBlue and a lot of international airlines, where you now could transfer your miles into one of those programs, and perhaps if you could find a good deal on a flight, well then maybe the value of each individual mile with this card could be more than 1 penny. And so if you used it in that way, this card could look a lot better, and then you could start to justify that $95 annual fee. So if you're going to use the card to travel into or to transfer into a travel partner and you can find more value, then great. But if you're going to use it just to offset travel that you have purchased with the card on your own, not through a frequent flyer program, well then you're not going to get any better value than you could out of a 2% flat cashback card, but you're going to pay a $95 annual fee to hold it. All right, number 3 in our rankings, the Capital One Quicksilver Rewards card. No annual fee, 1.5% flat cash back on all your purchases. Same rate on everything that you buy. There is a new card holder bonus as I make this video, $200 if you spend at least $500 with the card in the first 3 months of having it. Now, when this card first came out, maybe 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that, that 1.5% flat cashback rate was sort of a novelty in the credit card industry. But this card has not changed since then, and many other cards have come out since then with a 2% flat cashback rate. So this card is no longer really competitive when you compare it to other issuers that have flat cashback rate cards. So why would someone get this card versus a card from another issuer that gives them 2% back? Well, the reason would be that this card is easier to be approved for. So if you have a little lower credit score, you have a better shot at getting approved for this Quicksilver Rewards card than you would for that Citi Double Cash card that I mentioned earlier, or one of the other 2% cards out there on the market. So Capital One says that this card is for excellent credit, but Capital One's version of excellent credit is probably a little less excellent than some of the other credit card issuers out there on the market. In terms of what that means credit score wise, 700 or above, you probably get approved, but maybe even 650 or higher, you could get yourself approved for this card, where maybe you'd have to have that 700 with a different issuer to get a 2% card. So it is sort of the reputation of Capital One that they are a little easier to be approved for than other issuers. So 1.5%, not super competitive compared to the rest of the market, but still a decent card because it could be easier to get your hands on. Number 4 on our list, the Capital One Savor Rewards card, which if you are new to Capital One cards, you might think looks an awful lot like the number 1 on our list, the Savor One card, and that's because it is an awful lot like it, except it has a $95 annual fee, more rewards, meaning 4% on dining, 4% on entertainment purchases, 4% on streaming services, 3% at grocery stores, 1% everywhere else. As I make this video, you could earn a $300 bonus as a new card holder if you spent $3,000 in the first 3 months of having this card. So when we look at this card compared to the Savor One card that I ranked number 1 in this list, you can see you're getting more rewards, but when you have to pay that $95 annual fee, especially after the first year when you're no longer getting a bonus, you would have to spend an awful lot in those dining, entertainment, and streaming services categories to make this card better than the Savor One card. Specifically, you'd have to be spending $9,500 or more on an annual basis in those 4% categories for this card to be better than the Savor One. So unless you're really going to spend a lot in those categories, that annual fee is not going to be worth it over the long haul. And I could even make the case that the reason this card is behind the Quicksilver Rewards card is if you were only going to hold one card for all of your purchases, you might not even be able to get 1.5% on average with this card like you would with the Capital One Quicksilver, because once you factor in that annual fee, unless you're a very big spender across the board on your credit cards, you might end up actually on average getting less than 1.5%. So this card, while it looks good on the surface, unless you really spend a lot on it, that $95 annual fee is going to eat into your rewards and is not going to be as good as the other cards we've already talked about. And then there are 2 more cards to talk about out of those 6 main cards that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and I'm going to put them in a tie here at the bottom of these 6 because even though one of them is clearly better than the other on the surface, there is a reason that the other might be chosen before it. The Capital One Venture One card is the no annual fee version of the Capital One Venture Rewards card we already talked about. In this case, no annual fee, 1.25 miles per dollar on everything that you purchase with the card. New card holder bonus of 20,000 miles if you spend $500 or more with the card in the first 3 months of having it. At least that is the bonus as I'm making this video. So when we look at this card and you think to what I said earlier, for many redemptions, if you are just going to offset travel purchases you make with this card with the miles that you have earned, that means that 1 mile is going to equal 1 penny, and then in this case 1.25 miles is going to equal sort of 1.25% cash back. It's going to be the equivalent of 1.25% cash back, and we know that that's really not a great rate when we compare it to other cards on the market or even compare it to Capital One's own Quicksilver rewards card. So maybe if you were to use one of Capital One's travel transfer partners, you could get a little more value out of the points that you earned with this card, but you're probably not going to get a whole lot more value, and it is going to be hard to justify holding this card when there are so many other better rewards cards out there on the market, including from Capital One, as far as I'm concerned. And then finally, it's the Capital One Platinum MasterCard, a card with no annual fee, no rewards, no bonus opportunity, high interest rate of 26.99%. And when you look at all those statistics, you might say, well, why would you put it in a tie with the Venture One card? And the reason is because this card actually seems to have more of a reason for existing. The Capital One Platinum MasterCard is a card that many people will hold when they have had past credit problems and they have built their credit score back up and they are trying to sort of get back into the mainstream with the larger banks that offer credit cards. So this is a card that is known to work with people that have lower credit scores who are working their way back up. And so many people are very thankful for the Capital One Platinum MasterCard because it is the place where they finally sort of made it back into the arena with the big banks and maybe can get themselves to better credit cards that do have rewards. So there is a reason for this card to exist, and sometimes this card also is going to be the first credit card that somebody holds if they are new to credit, especially maybe if they are new to the country and coming in for the first time, don't have any sort of credit history in the US. This is a card that they can often get approved for. So there's a reason for this to exist, and for that reason I put it in a tie with the Venture One card, even though the Venture One card has rewards and on the surface looks like a better card. So that's the ranking of the 6 main Capital One cards, but I said earlier that there are variations on these cards, and when I said variations, what I really meant was there are worse versions of these cards, but they do serve a purpose. So if you went on the Capital One website, you would see that there are 3 cards that are essentially 3 of the cards we talked about, but they say for good credit. So you are going to have the Savor One for good credit, you are going to have the Venture One for good credit, you're going to have the Quicksilver Rewards for good credit, and even though it says for good credit, what that actually means is a little worse credit than those cards we already talked about. And what that means to you is if you were to be approved for one of those cards, you get everything that those cards offered, except the bonus opportunity would not be there. So essentially the same card, but they take that bonus opportunity away if you're someone whose credit score is a little lower. Now, what does good credit mean to Capital One? Hard to say, maybe somewhere between 600 and 650, maybe 625 to 650. Not quite sure what the window is that Capital One considers good credit, but if they think your credit history is not quite good enough to get those cards that we talked about earlier, they might approve you for one of these good credit cards. And then the other credit card variant, if you will, is the Capital One Quicksilver One card, which is another version of the Quicksilver Rewards card that gives 1.5% flat cash back on everything. So this card, the same with the 1.5% cash back, but no bonus and a $39 annual fee. So we're taking one more step down in terms of the credit history that may be required to get your hands on this card. So you're going to pay an annual fee, but you do have a reward here. All of these cards that I talked about as variations from those first 6 cards are ones that I would suggest probably you don't go onto the Capital One website and just apply for because you think your credit's not good enough. They are cards that Capital One would probably either offer to you if you applied for one of those other cards and they didn't think your credit was good enough, or they might send those cards to you in a mailer to your home, and maybe there's some sort of pre-approval that would make you think you could be approved for those cards even though you knew you weren't going to get the bonus, or you might have to pay the annual fee. Or maybe in a card comparison website like a Credit Karma or Equifax or Experian or whoever does the card comparisons there, sometimes sometimes they'll say, based on your credit history, here's a card you could qualify for. And so that's where probably more often you are going to see one of these variations on the first 6 cards we talked about. And if you are sort of pre-qualified or you use the pre-qualify tool on the Capital One website, then you might think, okay, well, my chances of being approved are better for one of these cards given my lower credit score. And then finally, just to mention the 2 other Capital One consumer cards that are Capital One branded. There's the Capital One Journey Student Credit Card, and then there's the Capital One Secured MasterCard. The Journey College Student Credit Card, not a bad college student credit card. You get 1.25% cash back on everything as long as you pay your bill on time. If you don't pay your bill on time for whatever reason, they'll still give you 1% cash back, but you don't want to not be paying your bill on time. So anyway, that's how that one works. It compares okay to other student credit cards out there on the market. Not the best. I would say Bank of America probably better in the student space, but not terrible. In terms of the Capital One Secured MasterCard, an okay secured card if you have bad credit and you're not going to be able to qualify for any of these unsecured cards that we talked about. This is a card where you could put down a security deposit, and this would help you potentially to build up your credit score enough to finally be able to get one of the unsecured cards that we just talked about. When we compare it to other secured cards on the market, it's not bad. It has no annual fee, but one of the knocks on it sometimes is that when you get the secured card, if you had the hopes that eventually Capital One would give you your security deposit back and then put you up into one of those unsecured cards, that doesn't necessarily always happen. So that's sort of known as graduating to an unsecured card. Sometimes it seems to happen. Sometimes people say that they have the secured card for ages and Capital One will never sort of graduate them into another card and they have to reapply for one of the other ones. So that's sort of a knock on it. There are other good secured cards out there in the market. Again, Bank of America being a good one, but there are others as well. So that is a look at the Capital One consumer credit card lineup between our rankings and discussion of those variations. Hopefully you have a better understanding of exactly what Capital One is offering and why they are offering it to different people on the credit spectrum. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear those in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews and we talk personal finance, and we talk deals and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.